everyone. Welcome back to Read and Reflect. I'm Jason Smith, and today we're digging into some seriously mind-blowing stuff. Classic novels that somehow predicted the way technology shapes our lives today. We're talking surveillance, distraction, even time travel. These books weren't just ahead of their time, they basically looked into a crystal ball. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, but why should I care about some old book from 1949? And trust me, I get it. But here's the thing. These books have a weird way of holding up a mirror to the world we're living in right now. And that's what today's episode is all about. We're going to explore how fiction, written decades ago, can help us understand our present and maybe even shape our future. So settle in, because we're about to unpack some stories that hit a little too close to home. We often like to think of technology as progress, as liberation, as a tool for making life easier, faster, better. But what if technology, in the wrong hands or used without reflection, leads us somewhere darker? That is precisely what three visionary writers warned us about: George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and H.G. Wells. Each of them imagined a future shaped by technology, but not necessarily for the better. Let's start with one of the most iconic dystopias of all time, 1984. George Orwell wrote it in 1949, but the world he imagined is chillingly similar to now. In Orwell's world, the government controls everything: what you say, what you read, even what you think. There's no privacy. You're constantly being watched by Big Brother. Here's a famous passage from the book. Big Brother is watching you. There was, of course, no way of knowing whether you were being watched at any given moment. You had to live from habit that became instinct, in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, and, except in darkness, every movement scrutinized. Now fast forward to today. We've got cameras on every street corner, devices that listen to us, social media tracking our habits, algorithms deciding what we see. Orwell didn't know about smartphones, but he nailed the vibe. He predicted a society where technology isn't just convenient, it's a tool for control. And the scariest part? It doesn't always come with force. Sometimes we volunteer our data. That's why this book is still powerful. It asks, who has control over truth, over memory, and what happens when facts can be edited or erased? These aren't just philosophical questions anymore. They're real right now. And honestly, this one hits home for me. A while back I realized my phone knew more about me than my closest friends. It predicted what I was going to search, what I was going to eat, even what I felt. That's when I started thinking, are we watching the screen, or is the screen watching us? Now, while Orwell warned us about fear and oppression, Aldous Huxley took a different approach. Brave New World, published in 1932, is about a society that's built on pleasure, not pain. In Huxley's future, people are genetically engineered, emotionally conditioned, and constantly entertained. There's no war or poverty, but there's also no real freedom. There's a moment in the book that perfectly sums this up. But I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin. In fact, said Mustafa Mond, you're claiming the right to be unhappy. They take a drug called soma to stay happy. They avoid deep thinking. And if anything uncomfortable happens, just distract yourself with sex, shopping, or a feel-good show. Sound familiar? We might not have soma, but we've got social media, streaming, online shopping. Our world is packed with ways to avoid boredom or discomfort. And just like in the book, that constant pleasure can be numbing. Huxley's big message? Sometimes comfort is the real danger. If we're too entertained to care, we might not notice when our freedoms start slipping away. And here's something personal. I caught myself one night binge-watching a show I wasn't even enjoying, just letting the autoplay do its thing. And I thought, wow, Huxley called this. We're not forced into distraction. It's just always there. Let's shift gears to something a little more sci-fi, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This one came out way back in 1895, and it basically kicked off the whole idea of time travel in fiction. But it's not just about zooming into the future with cool gadgets. The story is a warning. The main character builds a time machine and travels thousands of years into the future. What he finds is pretty bleak. Humanity has split into two species. The Eloi are gentle, passive, almost childlike. And the Morlocks? They're brutal, underground workers who control everything in the shadows. Here's how Wells describes them. The Eloi, like the Carlovingian kings, had decayed to a mere beautiful futility. It seemed that the gradual widening of the present merely complicated social difference between the capitalist and the laborer was the key to the whole position. Wells was commenting on class division. He looked at the growing gap between the rich and the working class in his time, and imagined what would happen if that divide kept growing. The result? A society that's broken beyond repair. And today, that gap is still growing. Tech has created amazing opportunities, but also widened inequality. We have billionaires going to space while others can't afford healthcare. Wells saw this coming over a century ago. Also, he asked, what if we could see the future? Would it help us fix things? Or would we just watch it fall apart? Still a question worth asking. And here's my reflection. I've always loved time travel stories, but the more I think about them, the more I realize the real power isn't in seeing the future, it's in seeing what we need to change now. Wells made that point without a single robot or flying car. Just a broken future that maybe, just maybe, we can still avoid. So when we look at these three books, 1984, Brave New World, and The Time Machine, they're more than just clever sci-fi. They're deep reflections on where we're heading. Orwell's 1984 shows us a world of absolute control. Here, technology serves power. The telescreen watches every movement. Language is reduced to newspeak, narrowing thought itself. And truth is not what is, but what the party says it is. Sound familiar? Today, we live with mass surveillance, data tracking, facial recognition. Social media algorithms can manipulate what we see, what we believe, even how we vote. Orwell reminds us, when technology watches us more than we watch it, freedom is at risk. Huxley's Brave New World, however, offers a different warning. Not a world of fear, but of comfort. A world where people are distracted by endless pleasure, entertained into submission. No one rebels because no one wants to. They're too busy consuming, scrolling, streaming, or taking their modern version of Soma. Does that sound distant or dangerously close? Huxley's lesson is clear. Sometimes, the most powerful form of control isn't pain, it's pleasure. And then there is Wells' The Time Machine. Here, technology has not united society, it has divided it. The privileged Eloi live above ground, fragile and passive. Below them, the Morlocks toil in darkness, maintaining the very systems that keep the Eloi alive. Does this echo our world of rising inequality, where some live in smart cities while others labor invisibly in warehouses or factories? Wells asks us, if we allow technology to deepen the gap between rich and poor, what kind of future are we really building? Orwell warned us about surveillance and truth. Huxley warned us about distraction and comfort. And Wells warned us about inequality and the dangers of unchecked progress. None of them had iPhones or smart TVs in mind, but they nailed the big ideas behind our tech-driven world. So maybe it's time we stop thinking of these books as just fiction. Maybe they're guideposts. Together, these novels paint a chilling picture of how technology, if not grounded in ethics and critical awareness, can enslave rather than liberate, pacify rather than empower, divide rather than unite. Technology itself is not the villain, but technology without reflection, without ethics, without responsibility, that is where dystopia begins. The future is not written yet. It's up to us not just to invent new tools, but to ask again and again, who controls them? Who benefits from them? And most importantly, who might they leave behind? Thanks for listening to Read and Reflect. Join us next time as we explore another theme that grapples with the complexities of human nature and societal structures. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode if you liked it. Until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and stay vigilant.